So now we're going to move on to talking briefly about cover letters. And one of the things about cover letters that is a little bit of a controversy right now is whether recruiters actually read them. So I've talked with a lot of recruiters about whether they read cover letters, and what I found out is that um, some recruiters think that the cover letter is important, and some recruiters think it's not important. Other recruiters think that it's important, but they don't read it. The reason they think it's important is because when you apply for a job, you're supposed to write a cover letter. And so for them, the important thing is that you followed the rule, but the content of the letter is not that important. And it kind of breaks down into about a third of the recruiters think that cover letters are important and they read them. About a third think that it's important and they don't read them. And about a third think that it's not important and they don't read them. So, based on the fact that 2/3 of recruiters think the cover letter is important, you should have one. And based on the fact that 2/3 of recruiters don't read them, you shouldn't put too much effort into them. So you shouldn't make them too long. You shouldn't, go and give too much information there because there's a good chance that the letter won't be read. However, based on the fact that 1/3 will read the cover letter, you need to make sure that you have something that is going to engage those recruiters that do read it. Okay, so what that narrows down to is make the letter no more than 1 page and give yourself a really easy format where a lot of the cover letter can be pre-written and ready to go and can be used with any employer, but a certain section of it will be tailored because remember, you want to meet the buying motivators of the firm. And so you need to tailor at least some of it to the specific characters of the firm, the kind of law they do, their values, whether they're involved in volunteering, those kinds of things, or the kinds of projects that they do. So a good format for a cover letter is 1 page and 3 paragraphs. In the first paragraph, you want to tell a story and connect yourself to the company or to the job that you're applying for. And you want to show that you're a good cultural fit for that particular employer. In the second paragraph, and I will show you some examples of this as we go through it. In the second paragraph, you want to focus on the required qualifications. In the job posting, typically they will say you must have a law degree, you must have this, you must be a good communicator, for example, you must have experience doing research, and so you're going to need to look at those, and you're going to need to make sure that you address those requirements in your cover letter, and you typically do that in the second paragraph. And then the third paragraph, which is typically very short, is going to just be a strong and confident ending, and we'll see an example of that in just a second. So before we get into the different paragraphs, one thing you should notice is that the cover letter and the resume should be formatted the same. So if you've got color bars, as we have here for the name and here for the reference, make sure that those are the same color and same style as in the resume. Use the same fonts, use the same margin size, use the same text size. So everything, when we look at it and we look at the cover letter and we look at the resume together, it looks like it's a package that belongs together. Okay. If they're formatted differently, again, the recruiter may be thinking, this person's attention to detail is not very strong. Provide a job reference if there is one. So for example, if you're responding to a job posting and there's a reference number there, make sure that that's included in your heading to the letter, and address the letter to the hiring manager. So you can see that Paulette Jones is the name of the person, perhaps in the job posting that it says, please send applications to this person. Paulette Jones's name is in the header with the employer information. And then the beginning of the letter is Dear Ms. Jones. Okay, it's not Dear Paulette. It's not Dear Ms. Paulette. It's Dear Ms. or Mr. and their family name. If you don't know the name of the person who will read your letter, Do not say, "Dear Sir, Madam." Do not say, "To whom it may concern," because those are very, very impersonal and they don't create any kind of connection. If you don't know the name of the person, then just omit the salutation altogether. And so rather than saying dear sir or saying dear madam, just omit that and jump straight into the beginning of the letter. Paragraph 1, as I said, tell a story, try to connect yourself to the job, make the story relevant, name drop when possible. So for example, if you've been doing some networking and you've met somebody from this firm before, and you've had a discussion about the firm, drop their name. And by putting that name in the letter, what you're actually encouraging the recruiter to do is to go to that person and say, "Hey, I see that you've met this person before. Tell me a little bit about them." And what you can actually end up getting is a recommendation from the person that you've met, which can help you to get an interview. You also, by telling a story, you wake up a bored reader. As I said, often the recruiters are tired by the time they're looking at your application. And so if the letter starts, "Please accept my application for an articling position with your firm," that's a sentence that the recruiter has probably read 150 times already today. And it, I know from the fact that I was a recruiter, it used to drive me mental because it was so boring. It was so unoriginal. And so if you can start your letter with something different than that, it's going to make it a lot more interesting for the recruiter, and it's a lot more likely that they will actually read your letter. And show a logical connection to the target role. So if we take a look at this paragraph here, the story is, "For the past 9 months, I've been volunteering with Pro Bono Law. One of the lawyers I support, Jenny Smith, is an associate with your firm. She and I have spoken at length about the firm and what great place it is to work. I'm particularly drawn to the fact that it's a smaller office with a strong presence in corporate and commercial law." And then she goes on to tell about why this is important. At the very end of the paragraph, we talk about, "I'm thus excited to find your job posting for an articling student this morning and enthusiastically submitting my application." Now, the fact that you're applying, it makes total sense because you've just explained why it is that you're interested in this particular firm. And for the recruiter, that's really important because it shows that there's going to be a strong connection. It shows that there's perhaps a good cultural fit for you with them. And that's going to encourage them to, again, invite you for an interview. The second paragraph, this is where you deal with the required qualifications. And this you're going to target to the qualifications that are in the job posting. These are the buying motivators of the employer. And so you're going to use keywords for these qualifications, and then you're going to show them how you match that qualification. And this is part of your value proposition that you're presenting. And so here you can see that the three things that were in the job posting that this applicant is responding to is that you have the prerequisite legal education. And this is something that you can pretty much have as a standard for all of your articling requirements or all of your articling applications, because most firms require the prerequisite legal education. Okay? In fact, all of them do. Then they've focused on customer service experience and community involvement in legal contexts, because these are two areas that were in the job posting that this applicant feels they have a very strong match to. Okay. And so with customer service, they're talking about being the legal admin officer and overseeing the schedule, dealing with contractors, dealing with payroll for employees, dealing with the bank, and all of these have customer service elements that are hopefully going to be very attractive to the recruiter that is going to read the letter. And then the community involvement in legal context, they're talking about the pro bono law position again, and about how this has helped them to understand legal process and help them to enhance their entry-level legal skills that are going to be important in an articling role. So this is addressing the needs of the employer very, very clearly. And then I said, making the paragraph 3, make it a strong ending. You do not need to thank the recruiter for reading your application. Okay, thank you for your time considering my application. That is not very confident. It shows that you consider yourself perhaps even inferior to the recruiter. So make it a confident finish. I look forward to meeting you in an interview to discuss my experience and skills and how I can contribute to your firm's success. This actually shows that you're assuming that you're going to get an interview. And subconsciously for the legal recruiter, this is going to be a positive, because if you assume you're getting one, it means that you must feel very strongly that you're a good fit for the role, and it could result in the recruiter wanting to interview more than they would otherwise.